Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming and watching me today. We'll do this quick because I know I'm hungry and I know lunch is getting ready here, so I'll try to make this more of a 15 minutes, and then we'll see if we can do questions at the end. Maybe quickly just on my background. My background's more on actually the portfolio management side. Previously, I ran a small cap fund in Canada kind of 6 years ago as a portfolio manager and kind of stumbled upon the cannabis space more from a personal standpoint, seeing the medical benefits that this plant does in my family. So I wasn't smart enough to know it was going to be legalized quite so quickly at that time, I'll admit. But what we did was we started the first long-only institutional cannabis mandate in Canada. And through that process, I got to tour 100-plus facilities across the globe in the cannabis space. And we had over 1,200 companies in our universe when I left there to join Valens. But it's really been in the last kind of 2 years we looked for different parts of the business. And we were focusing on different parts of the value chain for profitability. And we came across extraction. And what we liked about the extraction space back then was that, one, the EBITDA margins, and two, the EBITDA stability. And so what we did is toured companies across California, Colorado, and Canada, and we came across Tyler Robson, the CEO of Valens, and team, and saw how far ahead their proprietary technology was, and their knowledge base in the extraction space. Became kind of an investor. Then we became one of the largest investors, and I liked the business so much I joined about a year ago. So Valens, I'll kind of run through this quickly here. We're the largest extraction company in Canada today. We have 425,000 kilograms of capacity, capacity, and we already have 240,000 kilograms of that contracted going into 2020. So the unique thing about our business plan is we have visibility on the revenue and EBITDA on our platform. And I think if you guys do want a presentation, they're being handed out right now. We had extras. I had too many when I came. But what we have, those 240,000 kilograms going into 2020, we've contracted those with 10 customers today. And 5 of those are some of the top customers in Canada, whether it's Canopy, Tilray, Hexo, or Organigram. But really the transition of our business model as what we call Cannabis 2.0 products come online in Canada, whether it's vape pens, edibles, et cetera, we've been really becoming the largest third-party product development and manufacturing company for our clients, helping them out with actual products and getting them on the shelves. So our belief is that oil-based products will dominate the marketplace. And if you look at this chart here, if you go back to 2016, you can actually see that 29% of the market was only oil-based products. Now, fast forward to 2018 in the US market, and you almost have 50-50 oil-based products. And where we think that's going is it's going to be 75% plus oil-based products. And the reason why is I've never met a doctor that wants you to smoke cannabis. And two, if you look at the incremental consumer and the convenience and that new consumer coming online, they are favoring oil-based products. And the base of all oil-based products is extraction, and that's what we come in every day thinking about. So if you look at the one other thing I'll mention on this slide is that concentrates is 10% of the marketplace. Currently, we're the only company in Canada with hydrocarbon extraction that can offer our customers this category, and we're really excited to put some cool products to the market here shortly. So I'm going to go through 4 different areas. You can read these all the way from extraction as a base all the way to product development, and that's what I'll cover quickly. So maybe just to rewind, what is extraction, right? So extraction for the cannabis space is unlike any other industry because you have 140 different cannabinoids in this cannabis plant that you can isolate for at different temperatures, pressures, and processes. It's a lot tougher, and even 5 years ago, we were just using off-the-shelf pharmaceutical equipment, not having the recovery rates or the yields, and it's really been customized in the last few years. But basically, you put dried cannabis or hemp in one end, you put it in the extraction machine, you add a solvent and temperature and pressure, and what comes out is, the first thing that comes out is a crude oil. And actually, if you look at this chart, it actually looks like mustard, or I like to say a Cheese Whiz consistency. And then what you do is you further refine that for taking out some of the waxes, the lipids, and the plant material to get an amber oil called a winterized oil, and then you refine that further going to a distillate. So right now, everyone's focused on extraction. What everyone should be focusing on is distillate, because that's the base of all edibles products, and I'm going to talk a lot about that in the presentation today. So we have the widest diversity of extraction technologies in-house in Canada, where the nearest competitor is 1 or 2 of these. So we have 5 different types today, including CO2, ethanol, hydrocarbon. When you think about hydrocarbon, it's really the anes, the butanes, the propanes, solventless, and terpene extraction. And the reason we have 5 different types is really how we think about it is we want to work backwards. When you think about the end products, you really have to work backwards and say, if you want a shatter or a wax, you're going to have to do hydrocarbon. Now, if you just want the quickest way to go through the ethanol or to get a CBD isolate or distillate, you're going to use ethanol. Or if you want a full spectrum vape pen, maybe use a CO2, kind of subcritical CO2 run. And so we can really customize with our customers because there's so many consumer trends that change rapidly. And what we can do with this platform is change really quickly for Canopy, Tilray, and all of our customers to make sure we get the best product to the marketplace. I'll kind of go through that later in the presentation. So the one thing I do want to mention here, we're the only one with hydrocarbon extraction in Canada today. It took us 2 years to get in-house, and unlike a lot of places in the US, we actually had to build a C1D1 facility and a bomb-proof room. So we reinforced concrete, it's a fire suppression system, HVAC system. It took us a long time to get. We had to get municipality approval, BC Fire Safety, and we really helped create this with Health Canada because it's really new in Canada. But that's a large part of the market today. We're really excited to offer that to our customers, and I think you're going to see some cool products coming online in 2020. So our business model was really always to focus on the most profitable part of the cannabis space. So if you look at tolling today, our business model is really, we don't take any risk on the growing. Our customers ship us the dried cannabis because they're good at what they do there. And what we want to do is now take that and turn that into oil or a value-added product to help their brand to the marketplace. So if you look at the margins today, the reason we focused on that is because we can help them and we can get great margins in that business today. But more and more of our customers are saying, hey, we want to build some of that in-house, and with the margin profile, it definitely makes sense. And what we are is more of a complement. So a lot of our customers say, hey, we're going to build CO2 in-house, but can we use you for our ethanol and hydrocarbon? And even if you look at the MSOs in the US, in California, still the MSOs outsource high-quality extraction. And that's what we always want to be, but we were always focused on this middle segment, kind of the white labeling business. So what we've been investing over the last few years is IP now to help our customers make sure that they can get the right product to the market. Because in Canada, it's really hard to differentiate product. Literally on the label, it says you're going to die, or warning that you're going to die on the label. And what we try to do is differentiate through product development so our customers can have the best brands on the marketplace. And then the third part is now taking our proprietary technology that we spent so much time in Canada and taking that globally. And the analogy I like to use here is you can have a 30 ml tincture bottle that sells for $100 in Canada, but then if you're going to sell that same 30 ml tincture bottle in Europe, you can sell it to $500 to $600. So huge margin expansion for us as we go global. So this is our customer base today. We have 10 extraction contracts, and what you're going to see is more of our companies coming for us for extraction. They're going to slowly move, or at least most of them, if not all of them, into kind of that middle area where we're actually doing white label services, and we're helping them with more of the value chain. A great example of this is Tilray. We're doing soft gels for them, and a wider range of other type of products that I can't talk about right now, but you're going to see on the shelf. And Tantalus, who we're going to be doing vape pens, and they're going to use our emulsion technology. And on the second side is what we have all these unlicensed players with brands that want us to come to the marketplace. And Shoppers was one of these companies that said, hey, we need a processor, and we did a strategic JV with them where we're the sole processor on their platform today. And what we're doing is a variety of product from them, from soft gels, tincture bottles, and as they open up on their platform for vape pens and everything else, we're going to put that through. But it's a huge testament because Shoppers is the CVS of Canada in this segment, and they did a lot of analysis for a lot of companies, and we're very honored to have them to choose us. Iconic is another brand. They do the White Claw of Canada for a beverage. They're one of the fastest growing independent beverage companies. But just like we have 2 to 4 year contracts and visibility on the left, what we're trying to do is that for our investors is the same thing on the right. And if you look at that contract, that's a minimum 5-year contract, a minimum 2.5 million beverages over that time frame where it's a take or pay. And we're helping that do that, but we're also giving our investors visibility and helping them get their brand to the marketplace. So this isn't the most sexy slide, testing, but I think it's very important. Today we have a problem with testing where if you send one dried cannabis to 2 different labs, you get 2 different results. One says 17% THC, the other says 14% THC. What is the consumer or the patient supposed to believe, right? And what we're trying to do is fix that in-house. We were the first ISO 17025 accredited lab in Canada, and Thermo Fisher Scientific, the largest analytical testing company in the world, saw what we were doing and named us the Center of Excellence for Plant-Based Science. But what this does is gives us consistency and trust for our customers, because the last thing you want is a recall, right? And for our brands, like, it's really tough to brand in Canada, as I mentioned. You really have to do it through the product itself, and this allows us to do this. It's also a risk mitigation too, right? Because you can get a certificate of analysis in-house that says, oh, this product's completely pesticide-free, but then when you actually mill it together and take random samples, you find pesticides in E. coli. That's a real example that we've had in-house. We can't put that on our extraction machine. We don't want to contaminate other customers. So what we did is we have to send that back, right? So it's a very risk mitigation for us. There's only really 10 sophisticated labs in Canada, and we're one of them. So just for timing, I'm going to skip over this slide and talk about formulations and IP and what we're investing in. This is an example of a technology that I think is going to change the space. Currently, if you look at cannabis oil, it floats on the top of water. If you think about any oil, it makes sense. What we did is we got exclusive rights to an emulsion technology created by an ex-beverage scientist from Starbucks and an emulsion aerospace engineer that made it for a different industry and formatted this for cannabis. But what we did is now this can be completely water soluble in that glass, or water compatible more accurately, but now it's consistent with every sip. So the first sip is the exact same as the last sip. And we have the longest shelf stability study I know of. We have 2-year shelf stability studies. Now you can have that beverage sit on the counter, and now people can trust that. So it's not going to separate, because problems right now in the US is, as we've seen, is it separates, and then you have 100 milligrams at the top of your beverage called the red ring of death, and then you sip that, and you're having a really fun day, right? And it's a very important problem. The other thing is onset and offset. So right now, if we had a cannabis-infused beverage or an edible in this room, it would take 30 minutes to 2 hours to feel the onset. And it would last for 4 to 8 hours. Some people say days. So who wants to be high for days on one beverage? With this technology, it speeds it up to 5 to 15 minutes, and then it starts to go away off that high in 45 minutes to 2 hours. So what does that remind you of? That reminds you of alcohol. And alcohol is sold in 6-packs for a reason. Not only because the alcohol companies want to make more money, which they do, but because it's social. And this is a barrier that I think beverages are going to be way bigger than people think with technologies like this, and we're really excited to have these on the shelves for our customers. It's one of the most popular on our platform, not only in beverages, but also in edibles, and we can even down the road put this into an IV. So this is the focus for, we're targeting 3 areas to start for Cannabis 2.0 for our customers. We're currently doing tinctures and soft gels, but we're doing beverages, which we have that emulsion technology. We're doing concentrates, which we're the only one in Canada today with hydrocarbon technology to put that to the marketplace. And then the last one is vape pens, where we offer our customers, you can actually come to our platform, and we have 192 different specifications you can do the vape pens. And we've actually gone to 15 facilities in China, audited their SOPs, making sure that we've tested for base metals and a rigorous process so that our customers then don't have to do that, and that we can show them all the data we have, and they have a vape pen they can trust for their consumers. So that's the first 3 we're targeting. The reason we're targeting those 3 first is because we think, 1, they're going to be the most popular, and 2, they're the most profitable for our customers and ourselves. Just looking at the time, I'm going to speed up here. And Phil, you can wave me off. I don't know what the time is. I can't really. Oh, okay, good. I see it here. So for global expansion, I think what makes sense, as I said, is now actually taking the proprietary technology that we have in Canada and now copy and pasting that around the world, right? And if you look at this opportunity, the global marketplace, even if you just look at 2% of the population for medicinal cannabis, if only 2% of the population uses medicinal cannabis at the current usage rates, that's a $180 billion annual opportunity. So when we look at $1 for investors, we see that there's a great option to actually expand globally and get $5 down the road for them from an investment standpoint. And the first thing we're doing is we're looking at a low-cost solution. So if you look at the opioid industry or pharmaceutical companies, they don't grow their own opioids, right? Those are grown on the equator because it's really cheap, right? And if you look at this industry like any other cultivation industry, I think that's the future of the industry. So we want to set up an extraction platform where we now can actually extract for lower cost and then ship into our formulating facility in Europe and in Canada. So we can actually create those products and get them to the consumer for our customers. So that's kind of our overall strategy. Today we have the US market kind of highlighted for CBD. We're not going down that route today. And the reason is because when you talk to CPG companies or big Fortune 500 companies in the space, the first thing they ask you is, do you have any US operations? And even if you say no, but the conversation's over. So as long as those conversations are going well, we're not going to go there because we'd love to get a partner in that area in Canada first and globally, and when it opens up in the US, it's definitely of interest. I wanted to change the conversation. Everyone's focused on extraction, but everyone should be focused on distillate capacity. I think everyone's going to be talking this 6 months from now because it's input is important, it's what you can get on the output. So we have 25,000 kilograms of distillate capacity, the largest in Canada today, and currently in Canada, distillate sells between $40,000 and $60,000 a kilo. So I'm not saying we're going to, if you add that up, that's $1 billion in revenue if you're selling that distillate. I'm not saying we're going to do that anytime soon. We're only a small portion of that value chain, but you can see that we have the capabilities now to create these end products for our customers. And then two is something more that's going to be talked about more is this centrifugal partition chromatography. And this is actually, it's just a fancy word that says you actually spin particles around and separate them. So now you can separate pesticides and different, like a coli out of it. And for our customers, if they're growing outdoors and they're down the street from a golf course and that accidentally gets into their crop, how do we help them to get that to the market? And what we want to do is just help our customers more and more so we can become a valued part of their value chain, that they don't have to invest in this gigantic piece of equipment because we already have it in-house. And I think it's a win-win on both those ends. We're really excited. That's actually coming in the new facility that will be built in the first half of 2020 here, and it's on time, on budget, and well ahead of schedule. But it's really our white label manufacturing excellence, but we're excited to have that in-house. So I guess the most kind of important thing from investor standpoint is this chart here. So we just announced our last Q3 results. We did $16.5 million in revenue, and we did $9.8 million in adjusted EBITDA. So from a portfolio management background, I always awe that you can do more EBITDA than you did in revenue the previous quarter. So we're growing quickly but profitable. So we did $5.9 million in net income. And we're now the most profitable company in the cannabis space because we're just focused on one thing. We're not building out a lot. We're focusing on one part of the value chain. And it's an important part. And I think from an investor standpoint, what we want you to do, everyone's been looking at revenue, but for us, we really want you to benchmark us on net income and cash flow as we generate it going forward. So if you look at the analyst estimates today, you kind of see there, the nice thing is we have a lot of visibility on that. And right now, we charge on average for kind of contracts, if you back them out, $1 for cannabis and 20 cents for hemp. That's how much we charge per gram on input. And if you look at that 240,000 kilograms contracted in 2020, if you just have 50% hemp and 50% cannabis, which I think is a good average number to model, that's $145 million in contracted revenue. So then analysts are only putting in for next year 162.6, which is only 17 million more in white label revenue. And with Shoppers, Iconic, and Tilray, I think that's more than achievable for our standpoint. And what we want to do is have that consistency and forecastability as we go forward and accountability. And if you look here, you can also see that I put in a P multiple at the bottom of the page of what we're trading at. And the question I get asked is, why are you guys trading at such a low valuation? And the big thing for us is all of our expertise comes in this Cannabis 2.0 product. So all of the expertise hasn't even been shown yet, so we're excited to show the market the ramp up in the quarter and the actual products our customers are coming to the shelf because our customers are coming out with some great products and we're happy to help. So this is a benchmark. I said in the extraction panel yesterday, and I believe it, I think the extraction area in general is one of the most exciting parts of the space. And I think as the tide rises, it floats all boats. And I think it's a space you have to look out from your investment portfolio. And we have some great competitors in here. How we're different is if you look at the metrics. So we're the largest today. We have contracted revenue, and we have a diverse customers, and 5 of them are the top 10. Today. We have the largest diversity of actually extraction methodologies, and we've gone down the route to actually build our own lab in-house to make sure that we have that consistency. We have organic certification, which is, I think, important and people underestimate from a product standpoint. And then if you look at kind of that bottom line is net income. So I think we want you to benchmark us consistently on that, and we're really excited as we ramp up and grow, and the Canadian market comes online from a kilogram standpoint input. We're excited to show everyone that ramp up in the next few quarters. So I think I have 35 seconds left, so maybe we can do a few questions if you have them, and then I can get off the stage.
Hire the people, basically integrate their supply chain?
Yeah, I think we encourage our customers to bring it in-house, and what we've heard from them basically is say, hey, we're going to build CO2 in-house. There's a great CO2 machine that we can buy off the shelf because we need to capture some of that margin in that value chain, but we don't want to build a bomb-proof room in our $200 million facility. Or we're in a residential area and we can't get permitted for that. Why don't you guys do the hydrocarbon and they do it in? So LPs will build it in-house, and I think that's a natural progression of the industry, and we're just a complement to that current platform. So that's why it's so imperative to us to keep getting integrated in that value chain and keep doing white label manufacturing and help them on different fronts. But from what we're hearing from them, one of our customers is going down mass ethanol route, and they're saying, hey, we're going to go CBD in-house and just go mass CBD isolate and distillate from an ethanol standpoint, but we want to use you for CO2 and hydrocarbon. So it's more of a complement to the platform. And even if you look at MSOs today, they currently outsource for high quality extraction, and that's where we really want to differentiate ourselves and think have already differentiated ourselves in Canada. I think one more question, then I think I'm done. Yeah. Where did we buy the extraction equipment?
Extraction from, yeah.
Yeah, so we have a variety of different extraction equipment. I can't tell you that because. Sorry. Okay. Extraction. Yeah. So I mean, if you look at the extraction equipment, we've customized it for cannabis, right? So you take different parts, like our ethanol line, for example. We took parts from 3 different countries around the world, and now it's an automated line where you put dried cannabis in one end, and it actually automatically goes through the process and goes through the crude, winterized, and distillate. So you get just high quality distillate on one end. So it's a customized process. Yeah, we're only in Canada. And I think Phil's looking at me here to get off the stage, so I'll jump off. But thank you so much for listening, and if you have any more questions, I'll be over here.